Do you want to burn more fat while you run, need less of those gels and weird sugary fuels, and stop bonking? Welcome to Metabolic Testing. Metabolic testing looks very similar to what you may have seen for VO2 max. You are on a treadmill, you have a mask on your face, which is, as you might imagine, entirely uncomfortable while you're running. But instead of running to your all-out ultimate max, you actually start out at sort of an easy pace and you progress from there. Now, what's happening while you are running is the little tube running off to the side has a computer, and your proctor, or your test giver, is watching the data very closely. What they are monitoring is the amount of CO2 that you are giving off, and ultimately that translates for them to how many calories you are burning from fat and what percentage is coming from carbohydrates. It is fascinating to look at this. And the way this test works is, step one, you come in early in the morning in a fasted and rested state, and you sit and they take your resting metabolic rate. So this would be if you laid in bed all day long and never moved, how many calories you would burn. And even at that point, you want to see how many you're burning from fat and how many you're burning from carbohydrates. Because the more calories you're burning from fat while at rest, the easier it is to maintain your weight. Pretty cool. After you've done the resting metabolic rate, then you get on the treadmill. And as I said, you start at a very easy pace. Every 2 minutes, they will increase the pace. They'll be watching your heart rate, whether you're wearing a strap, or in my case, I always have my watch on, so they can check that. And they'll be asking you on a perceived exertion scale how hard you feel like you're working. You obviously can't really speak, so you're just holding up fingers. I will tell you that it's a little disconcerting because sometimes you're going much slower than you might normally be, but the effort feels harder simply because you are breathing into this little mask, and it can just make you feel a little bit claustrophobic, but it's not a long test. It's very easy. You're not gonna run till you need to throw up or anything like that. So once you have done those two pieces, it is time to sit down with your nutritionist and figure out what you need to change. I did 2 tests, 8 weeks apart, so that I could make the changes that were recommended and see what would happen. So in my original test, even at rest, I was burning slightly more carbohydrates than fat. And then even on the treadmill, though I was doing low heart rate for all of my training, I was still utilizing slightly more carbs at the beginning than expected. And as you run harder, the natural progression is that your body will always use more carbohydrates, which meant I needed to make some changes. So for the first time ever, someone finally got me eating enough protein, and his biggest tip was not so much just to think about the protein, but at my meals, to think about the fact that I was trying to balance my insulin levels, and that meant an equal portion of protein to carbohydrates. So where we might normally reach for that carb-heavy snack, what happens is your insulin goes high, and that keeps you out of that fat burning zone. Now, if I want a cookie, I'm actually thinking about it in relation to my last meal, how much protein have I had, and it actually got me to eat way less sugar because I just started thinking about protein more and that balance more. And it was kind of crazy to me that for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't craving sugar, simply because it wasn't that I could not have it, but that I changed my mindset around it. So what happened after 8 weeks? I lost 8 pounds, which I wasn't even per se looking to lose weight, but I was losing body fat, which was the key. And I had been struggling with that since my knee surgery a couple of years ago. So I lost that, and my fat burning went through the roof. He actually said he has never seen someone have such a massive improvement, which to him was a sign that I was following all of his recommendations. So I increased my fat burning by 40%. I'll link to a full report below so you can see all of that. You can find out more details about how to do one. But what that means for me is I was actually able to improve my endurance. So for the first time post-surgery, I was running much longer, and I was doing it at an easier effort because I was trying to stay in that fat burning zone. So you've heard that idea, and you used to see a little scale on treadmills for your fat burning zone, but those numbers are very generic. You actually need to know your numbers and get someone who is qualified to then help you walk through these things. But overall, for the majority of people, what you could take away from this is largely balance your protein and your carbs at meals, try to keep your insulin from spiking, yes, make sure you're getting enough rest, and when you're doing your easy runs, actually do them easy. That is where you're teaching your body to burn fat. And if you're eating carbohydrates immediately before that run, you're telling your body that's what it should burn. So it's okay. I started using nut butter for a lot of my long runs, and I felt great. So that is the essence of metabolic testing. Now, like I said, you can find out a lot more below in these links, but if you have other questions, let me know.